The Curious Case of the Cloud Collector. High atop a hill, in a house that looked as if it had been pulled straight out of a fairy tale, lived an old man with a peculiar hobby. People from the town below would often glance up and see him on his balcony, clutching a device that resembled an intricate butterfly net, attempting to catch something unseen. They whispered about his eccentricities, some with amusement, others with concern, but all were intrigued by his title, the Cloud Collector. It wasn't always this way. As a young scientist, Dr. Alaric Gray was respected in his field of atmospheric research. However, over time, he became increasingly obsessed with a single idea: what if clouds could be collected, studied, and then released? This idea wasn't metaphorical. Dr. Gray genuinely believed that with the right tool, one could collect samples of clouds, not just the moisture or data, but the essence of the cloud itself. After years of research, Dr. Gray created the Nebula Net, a device capable of collecting and storing cloud samples. And so, every morning, he would head to his balcony, Nebula Net in hand, and attempt to catch a piece of the sky. Young Emily, his next-door neighbor and an avid fan of mysteries, was the only person who showed genuine interest in Dr. Gray's experiments. She would often visit after school, watching as he used his nebula net, capturing wisps of clouds. Once caught, the cloud would swirl inside a clear chamber, its form continuously changing. "Look, Emily," Dr. Gray would say, pointing to the cloud in the chamber. "Each cloud has its own story. Its shape, its movement, they all tell tales of places it has been, the sights it has seen." Emily was fascinated. To her, the nebula net was a bridge to an unseen world, and Dr. Gray was its gatekeeper. One fateful day, a particularly large and stormy cloud loomed overhead. Dr. Gray, seeing an opportunity for a rare specimen, hurriedly positioned his nebula net, ready to capture a piece of the storm. But the cloud proved too powerful, and as it was sucked into the chamber, the nebula net malfunctioned, releasing a burst of energy that knocked Dr. Gray off his feet. Emily, witnessing the event from her window, rushed over. She found the nebula net damaged, with the storm cloud swirling violently inside. To her astonishment, the chamber began projecting images: oceans, mountains, forests, and cities. The cloud was sharing its journey with them. Realizing the importance of the moment, Emily carefully placed the damaged nebula net in Dr. Gray's lab. Together, they watched as the cloud unveiled its secrets: rain nourishing a barren land, casting shadows over a sunlit valley, and interacting with other clouds in a celestial dance. When the spectacle ended, the chamber was empty. The storm cloud had shared its story and moved on. Dr. Gray, with tears in his eyes, whispered, "It's beautiful, isn't it? The journey of a cloud." From that day on, the townspeople looked at clouds differently. They began to appreciate their beauty, their transient nature, and the stories they carried. As for Dr. Gray, he retired his nebula net and spent his days teaching children about the wonders of the sky. And Emily? She became the town's resident cloud storyteller, reminding everyone to look up and appreciate the ever-changing tales written in the skies above. Journeys with the Jelly Bean Jester. The marketplace was always buzzing with life, merchants shouting their daily specials, children playing between the stalls, and performers showcasing their talents. But among them all, one particular figure stood out, a jester, painted from head to toe in a myriad of colors, akin to a handful of scattered jelly beans. Each day, as the sun began its descent, the jelly bean jester would set up his space at the center of the marketplace, not to perform tricks or jests, but to tell stories. His tales were of far-off lands, strange creatures, and grand adventures. While jesters were known for their humor, his stories were different, woven with threads of magic and wonder, each as colorful as the jester himself. One evening, as a tale of flying ships and starry battles concluded, a young girl named Lena approached him. "Where do you get your stories?" she asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. The jester bent down, so he was at eye level with Lena. "Would you believe me if I said these aren't just tales, but memories?" Lena blinked, processing the information. "You mean you've been to all those places?" The jelly bean jester nodded. "Every jelly bean color represents a journey, an adventure I've embarked upon." Lena's gaze shifted to a pale blue jelly bean painted on the jester's hand. "What about this one?" she inquired. A smile danced on the jester's lips. "Ah, the pale blue jelly bean. That was from the time I sailed the Sea of Serenity." And so, he began his tale. The Sea of Serenity wasn't like any other sea. Its waters were thick and viscous, like liquid silver. The creatures there weren't fishes, but floating orbs of light. The only way to navigate through it was by a boat made of shadows, guided not by the stars, but by your own heartbeat. As I sailed, the orbs would sometimes approach, each humming a different tune. When their melodies combined, they formed a harmonious song that echoed through the stillness. It was said that if you listened closely, the song would reveal the universe's oldest secrets. But the sea had its perils. There were zones of utter silence where nothing existed. Drifting into them meant being lost forever. My heartbeat, the only compass, started to wane in these zones. And just when all hope seemed lost, a hand reached out, pulling the shadow boat away from danger. The jester paused, and his gaze met Lena's. That hand belonged to another traveler, much like myself. We became allies, two wandering souls in the vast expanse of the Sea of Serenity. As the tale ended, Lena was lost in thought. The idea that stories could be memories, and that such wondrous places existed, set her heart racing. She looked at the jester, her eyes shining with determination. "When I grow up, I want to go on adventures, just like you, and have my own set of jelly bean memories." The jelly bean jester chuckled. "Who's to say you have to wait until you grow up? Adventures can begin at any time, in any place. You just need to know where to look." Lena pondered his words as she walked back home. That night, instead of diving straight into sleep, she embarked on her first journey, exploring the vast landscape of her imagination. For in the realm of dreams and thoughts, every day could be an adventure, and every memory a colorful jelly bean.